Hi everyone, it's Oksana. In this video we're going to be making this little mini pendant. It has a small teardrop shaped stone, and we are using this design that has two wires, two 20 gauge square wires, and then it has some of the half round wire as well. So if you want to see how to make this design, just keep watching. So first I'm using some 20 gauge square copper wire. It looks like this. Mine is from riogrande.com. And we're going to use two pieces of it, but first we're going to start with this longer piece, and it is 15 inches. And my stone is actually quite small. It's a little teardrop, and it's a little man-made turquoise looking stone, and it is 15 millimeters. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna take our wire and we're gonna fold it in half to find the middle. And then what we're going to do here in the middle is we're going to make a sharp bend, get like a sharp angle here by using our pliers to bend it. And then once we have that, we're going to take our stone, and the bottom rounded portion of our stone is what is going to go right above that little point that we made. So it's going to be like this. I'm going to just make this a little bit of a smaller point because I want there to be some space below the stone. So when you put your stone there like this, see how there's a little bit of space? I know I have to cover it up with my fingers, but I'll show you again in a second. So you want to pinch that and then shape this around your stone. So now I'll be able to hold it up here and show you. That's what you want. You want there to be a little gap here below your stone. So you don't want this to be like opened up so wide that there isn't any gap. So you hold it, you bend it around your stone. You can put it down on like a flat surface. That'll make it easier than holding it up in the air. And then up here, you have your wires kind of just come together. You can do it like a rough draft of it with your fingers like I just did. And then I'm going to go in here with my pliers. I'm going to take kind of a closer look at everything and try to make it all nice and even and make it have like a nice sharp bend up here and kind of fix up this little shape so it looks good. Looks like a little leaf. And then this next part is optional. If you happen to have the supplies to be able to hammer it, you can use a chasing hammer, the flat side of the chasing hammer, and I have an iron block here, and just, you know, put this down and give it a hammer kind of like this, and it'll flatten this a little bit and make it a little stronger and reinforce this shape. But you don't have to do that if you don't want to. So if you did do it, like I just kind of hammered real quick off screen, it looks a little bit flatter and a little bit wider here, and it's become stronger. It reinforced this shape. So what we want to do now is we're going to work on our bail, and for that I'm going to be using some half round wire. So I have some half round 24 gauge wire. You can use 24 or 22. Those are the sizes that I typically use. And we're just going to grab a piece of it here. It's just connected to the spool, but I'm unraveling it so I can work with it. And we're going to get the tail end of it, and we're going to hold this and take just a little tail end and make a few wraps to get it started. And then once you get it started, let's kind of push this down. Then what you can do is you guide the wire with one hand, and with the other hand you turn the piece, so like this, and that will allow you to wrap this around. And if it starts to get twisted, you can just kind of fix it. That's the point of guiding it here with your hand. So yeah, mine's good now. It's started to get twisted a little bit because you want it to be the flat side down and the half rounded side up. So you want to just keep going with this for a little bit. It's going to be our bail, so it needs to be tall enough to be bent into a bail shape. So after it's about 1 inch tall, that'll be tall enough. And what you want to do is don't cut this wire, but just cut this little tail end here that we started with, so it's nice and short. And we're just gonna press down on it and just press over this whole bail to flatten all of that down. And then we're going to shape it into a bail shape. So I'm just going to hold it with my pliers, and with my fingers I'm making that rounded bail shape, and then kind of here I'm putting another little curve into it, and I'm trying to make both of those meet up together. So where the wire starts here to where it goes here, I'm trying to get that to come together like this, and that will be our bail. So now you can just kind of pinch that closed and then take your wire and wrap it, because we didn't cut the wire because we're still going to be using it. So we're wrapping it all the way around until it comes back to the back. So now our bail is connected and closed, and we're just going to continue with this wire. And what we're going to do is we're going to wrap it around these two wires. So at first it's kind of hard to get in there because there's not a lot of space, but the more that you do it, the further out you go. And I'm just guiding it with one hand, and I'm twisting the piece with the other hand, and it'll kind of get quicker and easier once we get a little further away from the bail and it's not such a tight squeeze in there. And you actually want to do this for quite a while, so just keep going with it. So once you think that it might be close enough, this is how you check. So we're just going to press that down, and this is the back. So this is the front. This is where we had our stone kind of sitting in this little frame. So go ahead and put your stone, I know it doesn't stay in there, but just kind of hold it in the frame and see if the wrap goes down to the bottom of your stone, which it does right here. This is where my stone would sit, and the little window would open up here on the bottom. So what you want to do once you get to that point is just trim the wire and leave yourself a little wire end, because you want that wire end. Here, we're just going to lift this up. So we're just going to lift this up, and we're going to tuck that wire end. We're going to kind of push it down here onto this side, because this is where the stone will be. It'll cover the wire end. So you could just press on all of that like that. So we're just going to take these little ends here. We're going to curve them, and we're going to feed them through to bring this whole thing here in the front. And then I'm just going to adjust it because my frame got a little bit bent when I did that. So I'm just going to fix that up. And then what we want to do is with our pliers, we're just going to put a bend here, because we want this to be flat, and then it'll curve for where our stone is going to sit. So you can put the stone in there and kind of check how it's looking at any point. And what I'm going to do now I'm just gonna bring this down a little bit because our stone is not that thick. And I'm gonna hold it this way with my pliers so that I can work on opening up these two wires. And I want them to kind of go down like this. And you can check how your stone is sitting in there. If you've pushed this too tight and your stone doesn't fit, you can just lift them up. Not a problem. Mine is like a little bit to the side. I'm pushing it over to the other side. So here is how it's looking. And what we want to do now, so these wires ended up being a little long because my stone is quite small, so I'm just going to trim them, but I'm going to leave myself a decent end here because we are going to have to work with these wire ends. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to pinch this with my thumb and my forefinger so it doesn't move and the stone doesn't move. And then we're going to take the end here and we're going to work it through this little gap on the bottom of the stone. So we're just working it through there, pulling it tight, and we're going to do the same thing on the other side there. Nice and tight. See how it's looking? I'm just releasing my thumb off of it to make sure nothing moved out of place. And then I'm just going to pinch this little loop that got formed, tighten it up. And now I'm going to trim this, but I'm going to leave myself a little end on both sides here. And that's because I want to tuck away the wire end, but I don't want it to be so long that it goes through and like to the front. So I want it to be kind of right on the edge here. So from the back, it doesn't stick out. From the front, it doesn't stick out. It's just kind of tucked right into the edge there. And that's how we're going to hide away those wire ends. So there it is. This one is tucked away as well. And this is what our stone looks like. And it may seem a little bit secure, but this top part of it can come out, can pop out. So we're just going to use one more piece of wire and we're going to secure it here from the top. So I'm using the same 20 gauge wire that I used before, but this piece is going to be shorter. It is 6 inches long. And once you have it, just kind of gently bend it in half like this. I'm just straightening it out because it got some kinks in the wire there. There we go, nice and straight. So now we're just going to take our pendant and we're going to put this through the bail like this. So it's just going right through the bail there. And with our fingers, we're going to pinch this kind of closed, so to speak. So it's starting to crisscross. So we're just going to push on that. What you can do that is helpful here is you can take your pliers, kind of press down on that and hold it in place, and then you're going to take these wires and kind of put a little bit of a bend in them so that it goes around this like edge of the stone, and then here when it comes towards this other wire, you can line it up so it's right next to it and just bend it to the back like this. And here on this side, I'm bending it so it's lined up right above this other wire. And once it gets to that other wire, I'm just bending it to the back. So here is what it looks like. Oops, my bail got bent to the left. All right. It is holding our stone here on the edges of the stone. So we want to flip this to the back. And what we want to do is make sure the wire is going underneath the other wire. We don't want it to like jump over it and move. And we are going to bring it through this gap and just pull it towards yourself. So here it is. It still hasn't changed position there. And we want it to line up right underneath this other wrap that we did. So like that. And then same with this, just kind of hold it so it doesn't move, tuck it in there. So from the back to the front, and then here on the front, just right underneath that other little wrap that you had. So just like that. So now our stone is secure because it's being held here in the top. The edges of it are being trapped. So if I push on the stone like from the back, it's not moving anywhere. It's being held in the back here by this wire. And because the stone is quite small, this wire going down the middle of it is enough. If it was a really big stone, you'd start to get significant portions of it here on the edges that might start kind of popping through. So just be wary of that. If you're trying to do this with a much larger stone, you might need to add something to the back here. Like maybe what you could do if you have a larger stone to trap these, you can, on the wire that I'm at right now, you can kind of work it up and like crisscross it across the back and then just like wrap it through here. See, there's like a little gap right here. Wrap it through there and then you would trap the back of it. But I don't need to do that with my tiny stone, so I'm just going to show you what to do with a small stone because we're almost done here. So we are just trimming this and leaving ourselves just a little end, just like we did before. So when we pinch that down, it's just right on the edge here. Doesn't stick out the back or the front. And I'm just gonna do that here as well on the other side. Just trim that and just push that little wire end down. And this way as well. Here it is. And now we have secured the stone and we have made a little mini pendant. It actually looks kind of interesting from the back as well. Could be double-sided. So that is it. Thank you so much for watching and I'll see you next time.